Okay, the next thing we're going to do is take a look at potential change orders. I'm going to create my first potential change order here. The potential change order is intended to make it so that you can negotiate with somebody on the other side of the contract a scope of work, a price for that work, and additional or days that would require to complete that work. So let's create the potential change order here. We have a series of fields we need to fill in. We can choose the contract, we can type in a subject name, and we can type in a description and add attachments as needed. I'll skip that part for now. We'll come back to that. What's important to note is that you can add new items down below. Think of these as line items that you will be billing against. So I could click add and type in this box, the description for the work, the discipline, what division it's a part of, the item type, is it standard or material? What does this mean? Standard is what most people would use. Actually, for right now, that's probably all you would use. Material is intended if you wanted to try and break out your cost in a different manner. There is a material cost associated here, not necessarily a labor cost or something along those lines. So we do have the ability to break data out, and so we can see subtotals in another method or another manner, but not mandatory. Well, it is. I'm sorry. This field is required, but you can just put everything in standard if you wanted to. Quantity, pretty self-explanatory. The unit price, location, yeah, all this stuff we would try and fill out everything with a red star, okay? So I'll fill out some data here and we'll come right back. Okay, now that I've filled out my potential change order form, I didn't include any attachments, but I could have. I can create a draft. And so I filled this stuff in. We're just fixing a sidewalk, essentially. So we'll create this. It will be here. And at this point in time, we have some options at the bottom of the screen. We can send this out for approval, assign it to someone so that they can work on it or give you some feedback and decide whether this is good or not. Alternatively, if you don't have anybody on your project and you're using the system for record keeping purposes only, you could choose this drop down and find two options: external approval and external rejection. The idea behind external is that users can process stuff in the system for record keeping purposes or whatever, and not have to rely on somebody else coming into the system and giving you the thumbs up or thumbs down. In this particular instance, we can externally reject this. And when I do, it'll ask me who authorized this rejection in this instance. We'll say Jane Doe was the one who told us that this is not going to work. She rejected it today. And the comment here can be something like, Jane says we forgot to paint the curb. Please add coating. Okay, so we'll confirm this, and now it is externally rejected. When something is rejected, and this is going to be true for all the forms moving forward, including change orders and payment applications, we have the ability to revise. And revise, if you click on this, will appear here in the top right-hand corner. We can also look at the audit trail. The audit trail will tell us what's going on. Jane says we forgot to paint the curb. Please add coatings. This happened, today or whenever you're looking at this, doesn't really matter. But at least the record keeping is here. We can also look at the workflow only, saying something very specifically happened, or we can look at views only. And the idea behind views only is that we will then know who has looked at this form. Okay, so that's important because if you want to assign something to someone and you want to know if they've looked at it, well, now you can check to see if they've actually gone in the system and have or have not looked at it. Okay, so let's hit revise here in the top right-hand corner. And when I do, all of my fields come in exactly how they used to be when I was rejected. But I do have the ability now to make edits or changes to the form. So she said we needed a new item, and that was coatings. So we'll just do paint the curb. This will go under, I guess, coatings, which is exterior improvement, sure. And by the way, if you were actually doing this correctly and not in a training session, you would just look up what division you're supposed to put your stuff. But for this for the purpose of this training, I'm not too worried about it. We'll say this is, I don't know, 30 lineal feet or something. I don't know. Perfect. Put in a unit price. This is going to be cheap. It's going to be, $15 a square foot. Oh, that's way too much. So let's make it $6 a square foot. And this will have zero change. You can have zero here. What we're saying is each one of these line item activities will probably take a day, maybe a day, 2 days, a day. And to paint the curb won't even take a day. So we're just going to leave that at zero. And we'll create this now newly created revision. If I click on this create draft, I can now see that this is hopefully better. We've gone up $180, which isn't a tremendous amount, but it's enough to make it approved. And now Jane Doe can externally approve this. If I wanted to, I could send this out for approval and I could actually assign it to somebody from the dropdown. But again, I'm the only one on this project. Again, it's just for training purposes. I'm going to externally approve this instead. We'll use the same one, Jane Doe. She has approved this on that same day, which is totally possible, by the way, when you're working in a digital, document management system. Hey, things fly fast. So this is great. The ability to make these decisions, in the now. Comment: Jane is satisfied and got approval where needed. Thanks, team. All right, confirm. Okay, now I've got a caret that shows up here, right? This arrow, and if I click this, it will fan out and show me the old version and the latest one, which has been approved. What's the difference? Well, if you look at the numbering went from potential change order number 1 to potential change order number 1.1, and in an effort to minimize confusion on this, we wanted to make it so that, and you'll see there's the strike through. If I go into the old version, at the top, you'll see a blue bar running across that says, this is an older version of this PCO. Click here to see the newer version. So if I click on this, it will take me to the newest or the newer version. And it will do this incrementally all the way up until the end. So it doesn't take you to the latest version. It takes you to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, until you finally hit the latest. This way you could easily follow through and view each of these potential change orders that have been rejected along the way, and we can kind of build our own mental audit trail on what this thing looks like. Okay, so that is potential change orders. And once you've made an agreement here about the work that's to be done, the price, and the scope of work, the duration, then only the approved potential change orders that have not already been selected are they available to be grabbed and put into an actual change order. So we'll cover change orders next. Keep in mind that while we are looking at the screen, we can see that there's filterable and sortable columns here. We can add additional columns as needed. So you can gather the data on this grid however you like, etc. And eventually, we actually have an export to Excel button here. So that's going to be useful for somebody that wants to bring a report. They can always print it out to Excel, etc. Okay, so that kind of covers potential change orders. We'll hit change orders soon.